All right, in this last video, we're going to go over setting up the offset. So I showed you at the end of the previous video that when we did the matching here, or that we flipped the matching, that the system that was the dominant one, that was the driving one, kind of freaked out and snapped in a weird direction. The other system stayed where it was and it looked fine, and it didn't affect the bind in any way, but I still didn't like the way that system kind of moved back a little bit. So we're going to create an offset to make sure that everything kind of stays where it needs to. So what we're going to do is underneath the match pad and above the icons for both the IK and the FK, we're going to create another pad, like the organization there, um, and we're going to call this the offset pad. And we're going to do that for every control here. So the pole vector, offset pad, and for each of the FK controls. Making sure everything looks nice and neat hierarchy-wise. There we go. So offset and offset. Okay, so we have our offset pads. So at this point, all we need are these offset pads here and this hand icon here. Oh, and we also need the controls because we need to look to those controls for their values. So, and lastly, the hand icon. All right, so we're just going to clear all this out and start over. And we're going to get rid of all the shape nodes here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all the shape nodes. Be gone with you. There we go. All right, so we got the hand icon here. And let's kind of rearrange everything here. I always try and keep my node editor as clean as I can when working with all this stuff. Oh, hand icon shape. Go away. So we got pole vector and the offset. So everything kind of lines up here. FK2, FK1, IK, pole vector. Looks good. All right, so just open all those up. Now for each of these, I'm going to need two nodes. I'm going to need a multiply divide node and a condition node. Now instead of the condition, you can use a color blend colors node. I've used those before. And for what we're doing here, they work exactly the same. So let's just start with the IK control here. So we're going to multiply divide node and a condition node. And I'll explain what these nodes will be doing as I start setting everything up here. So let me just move these over a little bit. And we'll start with naming everything. So left arm, IK match, multiply divide. Or, you know what, I will do IK match offset. There we go. Just to make sure these are specifically for the offset, because, oops, I created a color condition. I just want a regular condition. There we go. I just want to make sure these are specifically labeled for the offset. Okay, so what is the multiply divide node doing? All it's really doing is essentially taking the translate values of the IK controls and the rotate values of the FK controls and essentially just multiplying them by -1. That's all we're doing to try and just get the inverse of the transforms of the control. That's it. So for the IK control, I'm just going to connect it into input 1. And for input 2, I'm just going to set these all to -1. That's it for the multiply divide. Now, what is the condition for? Now, the condition is going to essentially switch it so when the IK system is not the dominant one, meaning the IK system is following the FK, that it will turn on this offset. That will essentially keep it in place when I make the switch for the match. And when the IK is the dominant one, to just have these all set to 0, essentially. So when it is set to 1, or just when it is the dominant one, that there is no offset. It's just set to 0 so that the values on the control are the values. So the first thing I'm going to do is plug the output, or first thing I'm going to do is bring in the matching here to the first term, similar to what we did for the initial matching. So when this matching attribute is set to 0, that means the IK is the dominant one, which is what we want. So when it's set to 0, that means I don't want any offset values. So the color of true is set to 0, and the color if false will be set to these offsetting values. Perfect. Just make sure it's set to equal. Yes, it is. All right, and then all that's left to do is plug the out color into the translate of the control. There we go. So you notice if I select the icon and move stuff around, there's nothing on the offset pad. But if I were to flip this and I try and move everything around, you see it doesn't move anymore because we have values on the control, but the inverse of those values are on the pad, which is exactly what we're going for here. So I'll set it back so the IK is the dominant one, and let's quick do this for the pole vector as well. So we're just going to create the same couple of nodes here. I'm going to call this pole vector. I'll try and do this as fast as I can to save some time on these videos so you're not bored to tears. All right. So translate goes into input 1, input 2. Since I duplicated, it should already be set to -1. Plug the matching attribute into the first term. Second term is 0. Color if true should be set to 0, and color if false should be the output here. There we go. And we plug that in to the translate of the pad. Perfect. So that's done. So now we can just create the same setup for the FK. So I'm just going to remove these because everything's getting a little cluttered in here. Alright, and call this FK1 match offset for both of these. Alright, now the difference here for the FK controls, I'm going to do rotate instead of translate. I hate that the node editor does this, but whatever will make do. And the difference here for the conditions is we're going to set the second term to 1. Because since this is FK, we want it set to 1. So that's what the matching attribute is. So first term, set to 1. True is 0s. and color false is the offset. Perfect. Plug that out color into the rotate of the offset pad. Again, with all the snapping, you can't stay on that, but whatever will may do. Duplicate the controls. Go really fast here. Oops, I set these to just FK match. And this is FK1 match. Let's clean this up as much as we can, try to keep it consistent. Alright. So FK2 match offset. And FK2. Okay. So again, FK2 rotate into input 1. The output will go into the color false. Matching goes into the first term. Should already be set to 1 for the second term. And we'll plug that into the rotates. Alright. So that should be it. And that is really all we need for the matching setup to be done. So let's just test it, just to make sure everything is working properly. So we'll move the IK around, move that. Now we'll turn this back to 10 and flip it. And you see, nothing moved. Now there's still values on the controls, but thanks to that offset, the values are in their the IK controls are in their default position. And so now that the FK is dominant, we can move everything around and make sure it's all following properly. Now this is, I mentioned in the first video, that before we do the switch again, we have to zero out these values. Now nothing is going to move here because of that offset pad being active, so nothing's going to move even when I zero it out. But now, if I flip it back, see, nothing moved. And everything is where it should be. So now the IK is the dominant one again. Cool. Now let's zero out the FK controls. And then we'll do the switch again. Nothing moved. So now FK is dominant. There we go. And we'll just double check the reset just to make sure everything is following properly. Zero everything out here. Zero everything out on the FK controls as well. And then go. Done. Just double check. Yep. And so that is setting up IKFK matching without cycles and without an external script. So hope you liked the video. I hope it's useful to you. If you like the video, please like or subscribe. Be sure to look out for more videos in the future. And yeah, have fun.